I'm going to share with you why everything you thought you knew about diabetes, how to treat it, is flat out wrong. You are going to be filled with disgust when you hear a big pharma insider break his code of silence and reveal the 3 biggest diabetes lies touted by doctors around the world. I will reveal the identity of the deadly toxin, the real cause of type 2 diabetes, and the clinically proven ancient 60-second habit that you can do tonight to flush this toxin out, which will, while you're sleeping, start normalizing your blood sugar, reversing your diabetes, slashing your risk of heart attack, amputation, blindness, and burning away stubborn fat. Plus, all the peer-reviewed studies that prove how this works. I'll even share with you the little-known warning signs which show a diabetic coma is imminent, something I wish I'd known before that night with Kathy. The truth is, you and your doctor simply do not know about this simple, all-natural, and unconventional breakthrough. This incredible twice-daily 60-second habit is so effective that in just over 3 weeks has reversed the type 2 diabetes in 33,405 people, and this number is steadily increasing. Meaning, every day, my inbox is full of new success stories from people who have had amazing results. And just as I can promise the sun will rise tomorrow morning, so can I promise this will work for you too. Whether you're male or female, 18 or 80 years old, whether you've tried every single diet, medication, and treatment out there, if you're already diabetic, pre-diabetic, and have been 10 minutes or 10 years or just worried about your increasing waist size and uncontrolled blood sugar, and want to effortlessly lose weight and take back control over your health, you may be feeling skeptical, but listen carefully. Put your phone on silent and take detailed notes, as I promise you that this can be a reality for you very soon. In the U.S. alone, Americans pay an average of $327 billion, that's billion with a B, each year for diabetes medication, insulin, and care. And Big Pharma are scared because what I'm about to reveal could destroy their business model overnight. The very same cash cow that will never reverse your diabetes, but keep you as a customer for life. It's well known that diabetes is caused by something called insulin resistance. This is when the cells in your muscles and organs start resisting or ignoring the signal that insulin is trying to give them, which is to take the blood sugar, also known as glucose, from the bloodstream and deposit it in the cells. It is this glucose that cells use as energy from the food we eat. Over time, as insulin resistance develops, your body fights back more by producing more insulin. The beta cells in your pancreas that are working so hard to make insulin get worn out and can no longer keep up with the demand for more and more insulin. Then, after insulin resistance silently begins, your blood sugar will rise and you will develop pre-diabetes or even type 2 diabetes. You may also develop non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a growing problem associated with insulin resistance that boosts your risk for liver damage and heart disease. Take a look at this image. I'm sure this cycle sounds very familiar. You eat your food. That's at the top there. Your pancreas makes insulin to take the glucose out of your bloodstream so the cells can use it as fuel for energy. However, your cells resist the insulin, and in turn, you store these sugars as fat, causing tiredness and hunger. And hunger means more food, and the cycle starts all over again. This is the exact cycle that Kathy had been in for years, and the exact cycle you and any diabetic are in right now. And what causes insulin resistance? Well, I couldn't find a single precise and definite answer on why it happens in the first place, and why this has started only in the past 60 years. See this graph? Diabetes barely existed in the 1940s. Dr. Grayson himself stated that the medical industry isn't exactly sure where insulin resistance comes from, only why it is bad for us, and that it is increasing at a rapid rate. In fact, a recent report published by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention predicts that nearly 1/3 of all American adults will be diabetic by 2050 if things don't change. You may be saying it's because we're getting fatter, right? But we've had overweight men and women for centuries, all the way back to the Mayans. And there's always been a surplus of food, at times for every civilization. Remember that cycle of insulin resistance? The belly fat comes after insulin resistance, not before. And for Kathy, her dramatic weight gain started only after she started showing diabetic symptoms. So, if weight gain was simply a symptom of insulin resistance, what was the cause? How did you or Kathy get insulin resistance before all the symptoms began? For weeks, I scoured the internet, visited libraries, and read through hundreds of dusty old medical journals. I visited universities, spoke to doctors, endocrinologists, alternative therapists, and even Chinese herb doctors for help. But I found nothing new. Just the same old tired advice of exercise more, eat less sugar and fewer carbs, and take your meds like a good little diabetic. Advice that you or any other diabetic listening to my story today has heard a million times before. I felt like I'd hit a brick wall, and after weeks of research, I was nowhere. I'd left online posts on forums and message boards requesting any information that could help Kathy. I got a reply from a man we will call Kevin, who has chosen to remain anonymous to protect his identity. He had a real dislike for the diabetes industry and has been working for the large pharmaceutical company for 10 years before recently being fired for voicing his concerns. Over a call, he revealed to me the 3 closely guarded and biggest lies of the diabetic industry, and anyone who dared utter them in public will be fired and have cease and desist orders against them. It was because, in his own words, the whole industry was a giant and deliberate fraud, which makes billions every year, not by helping to improve your diabetes, but by actively making it worse. As Kevin explained, from the moment you notice a problem with your weight, your blood sugar, or energy levels, you are encouraged to see a doctor who recommends that you start taking medications to correct your blood sugar, most likely metformin. Sounds familiar, right? But the big problem here is that from this moment on, your blood sugar and health is destined to only get worse, not better. After all, when was the last time you went to a doctor and your doctor lowered your dosage or suggest you come off your meds? Never happened, right? And this is the big diabetes lie number 1. Lowering blood sugar will reverse diabetes. The truth is, high blood sugar does not cause diabetes. It is a symptom of it. Diabetes drugs may help to lower your blood sugar, but eventually these drugs lose their effectiveness. As a result, your doctor has to increase the dosage and or add an additional drug until one day your doctor tells you that you have to go on injectable insulin, and soon more and more insulin injections. Why? Because the cause of the disease has not been addressed. The disease is progressing as if you were taking no medication at all. The same way you wouldn't treat an open wound with painkillers, you should not attempt to reverse diabetes with medications that lower blood sugar. Medications are simply a band-aid for a symptom of diabetes, nothing more. Worse still, these drugs have been proven to cause kidney failure, liver failure, heart attacks, cancers, and strokes. To really reverse diabetes, you have to go after the root cause, insulin resistance, not just treat the symptoms and live as a continual victim of this disease. That's why these drugs are such a cash cow for Big Pharma, because you are still trapped in the insulin resistance cycle. Drug companies make the most profit by having people completely dependent on their medications for life, buying new prescriptions, refills month after month. According to a recent study published in the journal Pharmacoeconomics, a person with type 2 diabetes will spend an average of just $230,000 to treat the disease over their lifetime. And that's just one person. It's big business, and a business they will fight to protect, because their business model will be destroyed if the world finds out that they can lower their blood sugar and reverse their type 2 diabetes naturally, without drugs. Next, Kevin revealed big diabetes lie number 2. This one shocked me. Exercise helps reverse diabetes. For many years, we've been under the impression that exercise is useful for every person with diabetes. However, in a new study by the Sanford Burnham Medical Research Institute in Orlando and published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, examined clinical trials that looked at the effects of exercise among people with type 2 diabetes. Their analysis revealed that in 20% of people with type 2 diabetes, exercise did not lead to improvement in blood sugar control, insulin sensitivity, or their body's ability to burn fat. The study suggests that this resistance to exercise among people with type 2 diabetes is genetic and can be handed down through generations. In essence, if you have tried exercising and had no improvement in your diabetes or fat loss, it's likely that you are one of those people who are resistant to exercise, and it will do nothing to help your diabetes. And even if you exercise could work for you, it still only mimics the effects of diabetes medications by lowering blood sugar but not addressing the root cause, the insulin resistance. Big diabetes lie number 3. Carbohydrates are your enemy. Why is it that all diabetics now fear carbohydrates? Why are low-carb, high-fat diets seen as a healthy alternative? It is far from the truth. In 1935, Dr. Rabinowitz did a little-known research study on the subject of high-fat diets and diabetes, a disease largely unknown at this time. He writes, "Suffice it to say that it now appears to be fairly well established that carbohydrates improve, whereas fats impair carbohydrate tolerance, and that carbohydrates increase, whereas fats decrease the sensitivity of the individual, animal, and man to insulin." 20 years later, in the 1950s, another doctor, Dr. Walter Kempner at Duke University, did an incredible study. He demonstrated that it was not high carbohydrates, but in fact, high-fat diets that were causing insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. He even showed that a diet composed of rice and fruit, simple low-fat, high-sugar, and carbohydrate foods actually had no negative effect on insulin resistance at all, and actually improved it. Conventional thought about diabetes states that foods high in carbohydrate will exacerbate diabetes and increase the requirements for insulin and medication. This is the cornerstone of the Atkins diet, the South Beach diet, the Zone diet, and the Paleo Revolution. Central to each of these diets is a reduction in carbohydrate intake for the explicit purpose of reducing the need for insulin, which in turn reduces the severity of diabetes and leads to significant weight loss. So, by this low carbohydrate rationale, Dr. Kempner's rice fruit diet should have resulted in metabolic disaster for his patients living with type 2 diabetes. The rice fruit diet should have increased his patients' insulin requirements, caused unwanted weight gain, and exacerbated cardiovascular disease. In fact, it was quite the opposite. The increased carbohydrates had, in fact, improved insulin resistance. Dr. Kempner was one of the first physicians to prove that carbohydrates are not the enemy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but Kevin was absolutely right. So if you thought your bad diet caused your diabetes, if you thought too much carbohydrate or sugar caused it, or that you didn't exercise enough, think again. They had no factor in why you have diabetes today. They are not the true cause of insulin resistance. The truth? Insulin resistance is reversible. Type 2 diabetes is reversible. It is not a life sentence. Now stay with me here because this is where it gets very interesting. Particulate matter, also known as PM2.5, is a complex mixture of extremely small particles and liquid droplets. They are emitted by fuel burning and various industrial sources, but then get into the air and are inhaled. It's pretty scary, right? They are tiny, invisible, and they have a diameter of less than 2.5 micrometers, which is about 3% the diameter of a human hair. Scientists are just beginning to understand what exactly makes PM2.5 so harmful. But a major reason is that it's so small and contains toxic metals. Its size allows it to penetrate the lungs and enter the bloodstream. I wasn't sure what that had to do with diabetes until I began to search deeper and struck gold. A study of 3,080 participants with an average age of 56, published only 2 years ago by the American Diabetes Association, with barely a single view, concluded these results show the associations between long-term exposure to PM2.5 and biomarkers related to insulin resistance. And scarily, they found the prevalence of hypertension, myocardial infarction, stroke, and medication intake were higher in those exposed to PM2.5. Another buried study published in the National Institute of Environmental Health Science, headed by Timothy O'Toole, PhD, had gone one step further and tested PM2.5 exposure on mice. They shockingly found that by reducing the exposure to PM2.5, insulin resistance was easily reduced. Then I found another study that made everything crystal clear. A study by a team from Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis and the Veterans Affairs St. Louis healthcare system linked PM2.5 pollution, even at levels deemed safe, to an increased risk of diabetes globally. Publishing their findings in Lancet Planetary Health, they not only concluded a definite association between PM2.5 and diabetes, they flat out said that last year alone, all 3.2 million new cases of diabetes were due to dangerous air pollution. Dr. Zayed Al-Ali, the study's senior author and assistant professor of medicine at Washington University, went on to say, "Our research shows a significant link between PM2.5 air pollution and diabetes globally. We found that increased risk, even at low levels of air pollution currently considered safe by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, and the World Health Organization, WHO. This is important because many industry lobbying groups argue that current levels are too stringent and should be relaxed. Evidence shows that current levels are still not sufficiently safe and need to be tightened." Incredible. I wondered what the air quality was like for us in New York. If we could just move elsewhere to escape the PM2.5. I did a search and found a map created with data from the Environmental Performance Index, showing the PM2.5 levels across the U.S. Wow, is that a scary picture? Nowhere seems to be safe. There's not a green spot to be seen on the map anywhere. And my home in New York is an orange spot, surrounded by a good bit of red. In fact, every corner of Earth is now covered in PM2.5 pollution. It is inescapable. You see, this is the real cause of your diabetes. your insulin resistance. We know it's not because of your diet or how much exercise you do, nor your age, nor genetics. Your health has been deteriorating because of the invisible PM2.5, which has been seeping into your bloodstream for decades, causing havoc in every cell of your body. Simply put, your body is treating these dangerous particles as foreign and sends immune cells to the evading tissues, causing inflammation. Scientists now fully believe that this cell inflammation caused by PM2.5 is what leads to insulin resistance. Worse still, scientific studies have linked increases in daily PM2.5 exposure with increased heart attacks, as well as respiratory and cardiovascular disease. Remember this graph. We see diabetes started around the 1940s. Now look at this graph of PM2.5 levels over time. Look familiar? Notice the rapid incline at 1940 matches exactly when diabetes spiraled out of control. Remember, due to the toxic environment we now live in, our cells are being relentlessly attacked by damaging and poisonous airborne toxins on a daily basis. This happens no matter where you live on Earth. It is unavoidable. As a result, they predict that nearly 1/3 of all American adults will be diabetic by 2050. Today, things are finally about to change. With Amanda Fearson's help, I've created a clinically proven and all-natural protocol that will allow you to finally reverse your diabetes and take back control. With no medications, exercises, or dieting, and do it within the next few weeks. And I've called it the Halki Diabetes Remedy. This program is designed for any type 2 diabetic, pre-diabetic, or anyone who struggles with weight loss, especially those over 35. It's so easy to follow, a child could. Yet, it's more powerful than any medication on this planet. Here we are, ready for you to finally get the flat belly and slim body you've been dreaming of and which you deserve, to free yourself from the clutches of diabetes. So what exactly are you going to get at the Halki Diabetes Remedy? You'll get your hands on the Halki Diabetes Remedy Fast Start Guide, where you will find everything you need to know to reverse diabetes. The truth about PM2.5 pollution, the real cause of diabetes, the ancient Halki island foods that inspired my research, and the secret behind their extraordinary detoxifying powers. Why diabetes medications are nothing but a band-aid for diabetes and will not do anything to reverse it, and actually just make it worse. The identity of the diabetes reversing aid, the 8 powerful antioxidants and vitamins proven in clinical studies to reverse PM2.5 damage, plus all the inexpensive, simple, and natural foods that contain these 8 powerful nutrients. I'll even reveal the identity of my #1 detox tea, which boosts the power of the foods. But that's not even the best part. I'm also going to give you the 21-day protocol. Inside, you'll find 42 dressing recipes formulated by Amanda Fearson that contain these 8 nutrients, along with instructions and nutritional information. You'll also learn the exact ratio of ingredients and the specific amounts required to make up these recipes, to turn your body into a detoxifying, fat-burning machine. But we didn't stop there. To make things as easy as possible for you, you'll also get a 3-week protocol to follow, telling you exactly what dressings to eat each day and when for maximum results. The exact same protocol that had huge success in our patient trials. And the delicious twist is that these ingredients are not only incredible for your diabetes, but beneficial for your brain, heart, waistline, energy levels, and much more. They'll also be improving your overall health at the same time. All you need to do is to follow the protocol and eat the dressings twice a day as instructed to achieve the same dramatic improvements in your diabetes that Kathy and thousands of others have achieved. And the best part is, there's no need to completely change your diet and starve yourself to death. All you need to do is simply add these dressings to your existing lunch and dinner, and each and every ingredient can be picked up for almost just a few pennies from your local grocery store. They take only 60 seconds to make. It really is that simple. And you can get access to everything in the next 90 seconds. Remember, this is not a fad diet or some silly cleanse. We know those don't work. This is a clinically proven solution that targets the root cause of your diabetes. This isn't some band-aid that focuses on symptoms. We're going to hit the real reason you have insulin resistance at the source. This completely natural protocol has already transformed the waist size, energy, and lives of 33,405 people. And you will achieve the same spectacular results too. Can you feel that? Your heart beating, the dryness in your mouth, to know that you can do this. You have the power. Let me ask you, how much is it worth to you to never have to do another finger prick again? How much is it worth to you to have your friends jealous of the amazing changes you've made to your body, begging you for your secrets? How much is it worth to never feel like you have to deprive yourself or diet again, or to burden your family with worry about your health? Imagine that for a second. Really, let yourself feel what that would feel like. And then tell me, how much would that be worth? Remember, a diabetic will spend $283,000 over their lifetime to manage the disease. Not reverse it, just to manage it. And over that time, these medications will wreck your heart, liver, and pancreas, increasing your risk of fatal heart attacks and strokes, not to mention amputations. This is the very real and frankly terrifying future that you could be faced with if you decide to do nothing and leave your diabetes in the hands of Big Pharma, who simply want to make as much money out of you as they can.